Hello.
Welcome to Let's Talk About Book.
Where we talk about book.
Book.
And we're kind of sick today.
We are. We're a little sick, and Audacity was being
weird as
again.
usual.
Um.
It was being weird as usual, where it's like, being weird about like detecting the microphone. It was something about like the drivers, and then I had to just unplug it and plug it back in, and then it was like, yeah, it's fine. Okay. But
So plug it back in. Different error, and then it's fine. I don't know.
yeah, then it was like a different error, and then I was like, I'm just gonna close Audacity and reopen it, and then that worked. So, yeah. But yeah, I am. We have a sneezy dog here with us because she really wants to go outside, and so she makes noises like that when she wants to go outside. I'm Smeevca.
And I'm Strab.
I'm just getting over being sick.
And I'm just about being sick, so.
So, that,
yeah.
Such is the risk of living together, such is what happens.
Yep, so, might be a shorter episode, might not. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it'll probably be a shorter episode, even in just as, like, we're only doing, like, 8 chapters today?
Yeah, we're doing 8 chapters, and I think they're a bit shorter chapters, and they're kind of the beginning, recapping, and getting our footing back in Mistborn, because we're doing Well of Ascension. We're starting that today, so we get a bit of the new status quo, kind of, and that type of stuff going on, because it's been a little bit of a jump.
Yeah, there's been a little bit of time, not like a ton, it seems, but like some time.
Yeah.
It's not like years or anything.
No.
But time has passed, and
less than a year of training is how much training his men have.
Gotcha.
So,
yeah.
However
long.
Yeah.
And so the epigraphs.
Yes.
We have epigraphs.
We do have
still,
epigraphs,
and they're a little different this time.
They are.
It's less of a mystery, because he just comes out and says, "I'm Quan."
Yep. Yep.
and also they're I feel like they're generally shorter. Like some of the like Lord Ruler ones in the beginning, which they weren't actually the Lord Ruler, but Yep.
Yeah.
So some of them could be a little long, and I'm sure some of these as they go in will perhaps be like longer. Some of them could be like really short, like I forget exactly, but there's like a really short one. It's like I fear whatever.
Yeah.
While some of them could be a lot longer, and so far all of these have been fairly short. The epigraphs that we've had so far.
Right. So I can read through these 8 here, or 8 or 9 or whatever.
I think it'd just be 8. Yeah. I mean, I think we sometimes do like the epigraph of the next chapter.
Yeah, but I don't think we listened to the epigraph of the next one. So
I don't think we did.
Of course, all of the sounds today.
All of the sounds.
So the first one. So the first one is, I write these words in steel. For anything not set in metal cannot be trusted.
Yeah, that's interesting. Especially because it's like, we know, or at least I know, like, did they use this term in the first one? Probably. Copper mines?
Yes, they have used copper mine.
So it's like, we know that, like, knowledge is stored in copper and like copper mines, but he's like, I'm putting it in steel,
right? Which
is interesting. It's like, is he literally like carving it into steel?
It says, I write these words in steel. For anything not set in metal cannot be trusted.
Yeah, it's like, what does that mean?
Yep.
Because I feel like there's gonna be like there's gonna perhaps be some sort of like revelation about like I feel like there's gonna be a sort of like because we're finding out more about Allomancy. And, like, new metals.
Right. Yep.
New fun things. And so I feel like there's going to be a sense of, like, yeah, metals were always, like, important. Like, writing this in metal and, like, ferrochemy has stuff to do with metal. So I wonder if there's going to be some of, like, we're sort of uncovering lost knowledge.
Yeah.
Like, one of the things that the Lord Ruler sort of suppressed was knowledge of, like, Allomancy.
Yep.
Like, we know that to be true for sure because we see that, like, the church knows about a metal that can get rid of all your metals.
Right.
We see at the end of it, and then in this one we find out that that's aluminum.
Yep.
And so it's like, we know they were suppressing that, and I'm just interested to see like how much, to what degree was he suppressing it, and to what degree was Allomancy sort of like known about in the past.
Right.
And this whole like, oh, if it's not in metal, it can't be trusted, just makes me think like, why is metal so important to this culture, you know?
Next one. I have begun to wonder if I am the only sane man left. Can the others not see? They have been waiting so long for their hero to come, the one spoken of in Terrace prophecies, that they quickly jump to conclusions, presuming that each story and legend applies to this one man.
Yeah, I was talking about how short they were, and then the second one was was a bit longer. But yeah, it's more stuff from like the same sort of time as the epigraphs of the first book.
Right.
But it's Quan talking about Alendi, as we actually come to find out.
Yeah, might have said that a little early, but
yeah, it's okay though.
It didn't spoil the Lord Ruler reveal, so that's good.
It didn't. It really didn't. Cause I was just like, it's weird. It's like, oh, it's trashing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, what the fuck was I saying? Yeah, this is interesting. The whole like, oh, the prophecies, and we're looking for it so much that we're applying them all to the sky, but it's, you know, it's not him. And again, it makes me, you know, crank back up the old Wheel of Time machine.
Right.
It always talking about Wheel of Time, you know, false dragon.
Yep.
All that shit. But yes. The next one.
The next one, alright. My brethren ignore the rest of the facts. They cannot connect the other strange things that are happening. They are deaf to my objections and blind to my discoveries. Mm-hmm. And then...
He figured it out. Figured out that he wasn't going to be able to do it.
Perhaps they are right. Perhaps I am mad, or jealous, or simply daft. My name is Quan. Philosopher, scholar, trader. I'm the one who discovered Alendi, and I'm the one who first proclaimed him to be the hero of ages. I'm the one who started all of this.
Hoo boy.
And I am the one who betrayed him, for I now know that he must never be allowed to complete his quest.
Yeah, whenever you get them in order, like reading them one after the other, it's like, oh, they're like just straight up in order.
That's why I really like doing the epigraphs like this, because like I enjoy going through and like reading the bits of epigraphs like together, because they do normally all fit together.
Right, because like in the first one, it was a lot more sort of out of order.
Yes.
It was like bits and pieces sort of scattered throughout, like towards the beginning, towards the end, you know.
Yeah, but this just feels almost like a letter or something.
Yeah, this one feels like it's like whenever you read them in order like this, it feels like it's in order. Like it's not just like doing what the last one was, where it's like, oh, a bit from this part, a bit from that part, a bit from that part, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if I took all the epigraphs from the first one and put them all in order and like read them through, I'd be like, oh, actually this does work. But I mean, I feel like that's not how it was.
Yeah. It does work with hindsight or whatever, but like
right.
But not in the way that I think you could predict it.
Right.
Necessarily.
Yeah.
Next one. I am also afraid, however, that all I have known, that my story will be forgotten. I am afraid for the world that is to come. Afraid my plans will fail. Afraid of a doom even worse than the deepness.
Yeah, is this world of doom even worse than the deepness? What with all the, you know, volcanic...
Yep, all the ash mounts.
The ash mounts and all the, you know, red sun, all the shitty stuff like that. It's like, what was the deepness?
Yep.
What was that going to be? Is this better or worse than that? Because, like, this came with the Lord Ruler. Did he do it?
Yeah.
Who knows? But I'm excited to find out, because this one's the Well of Ascension.
It all come back... Try that again. It all comes back to poor Alendi. I feel bad for him, for everything he has been forced to endure, for what he has been forced to become.
Yeah.
So that is the epigraphs, then.
That is the epigraphs. So, first chapter.
Yeah, first chapter.
Annoyingly, in my notes, I didn't mark it as chapter 1. I just started writing notes on a page. And so, like, the end of my notes from the previous book and the beginning of my notes on this book just don't Like, just, like, it's
Yeah.
just impossible to tell. It's just something like, oh, chapter 3. But yeah, and my first note is, I write these words in steel, for anything not set in metal cannot be trusted.
Yeah, because as soon as that line played, you paused it, played it back again, and then paused it, and then wrote it down.
Yep. I was like, I need to write this down correctly.
I write these words in steel.
I write these words in a little notebook that my
right.
mom made for me. But yeah, and then my next note is King Elend Venture.
Yes. Yep.
Because we're seeing Elend's government.
Yep.
Now that he's the king, following the Lord Ruler getting overthrown.
Yep.
The Ash Mounts are more active.
Yep.
Which is unsettling.
Yeah.
And is probably tied to, the Lord Ruler dying.
Yep. Yeah. The Ash Mounts had been particularly active lately.
Yeah. And there's like fear of war. Someone's coming knocking, trying to take the capital. Wouldn't you know it, it's Lord Strathventure. And I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
It's like, House Venture was the big house. Strath was this awful guy. We get this, like, stuff with him in the first book, but it's like he's set up, but he doesn't really, like, do anything.
Yeah, he's kind of there in the background as, like, the head of this, like, big house or whatever.
Right, and so it's like, the idea that we're going to see, like, more of him in this book, I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That feels, and yeah, he just is straight up like, hey son, thanks for holding on to Luthadel. I'm gonna come and get it. just like hand it on over. Like, just not even like I'm coming to declare war, but just like literally just like presuming already that's like, yeah, just hand it over to me because you're my son. And I'm sure he knows Ellen's not going to do that.
Right.
And
he knows
like,
his personality and stuff.
Right. But it's still just like...
Yeah.
But
he also probably thinks that, like, an army of like 50,000 at their doorstep might make his rebellious son think twice.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see about that. Well, eventually. We haven't gotten there yet. But yeah, Breeze is missing.
Yep.
Breeze is missing. Spook's also not here right now, but he shows up, so that's fine. But yeah, Breeze is fully missing, and we haven't really got anything about that yet.
Yep, and the Lord Ruler only knows where Breeze went.
Yeah. Where'd you go, Breeze?
We haven't had a message from him in months.
Yeah, you're not the one that I would have expected to be missing right now. Like, what are you up to? And then I have Paranoid or Prepared, which I'm guessing is about Vin.
Yeah. Yep, we go into Vin's perspective.
Mm-hmm. Vin, is this Vin out?
Yeah. I did want to mention one thing really quick in the Elend section. Right. I didn't go through and highlight, so I may have a little less today. But Elend is kind of just like thinking and talking to the crew. Like, it comes up a bit more later. Of like kind of comparing himself to Kelsier, of like Kelsier was central to it all. He was the one who organized and all of that. Right.
Yeah, it's gonna be sort of like a thing moving forward. Is like Elend sort of thinking about Kelsier and comparing himself to Kelsier, because it's like Kelsier literally made himself like a religious figure and like a martyr.
Yeah.
And so it's like the Skald look up to him, and there's this sense of like, he was the survivor, all these sorts of things. Like, he should have been the king, and whether or not he actually would have really been like a good king, but it's like he's the popular sort of choice. It's like,
and he's what everyone's going to be comparing the current government to, like the possibility of what Kelsier could have been.
Yes, the sort of image of Kelsier that they have in their mind. Which is like something that gets talked about sort of expressly by Vin, sort of, and talking with Elend about how it's like, Kelsier doesn't fully live up to the image and all that. And, but and also the way this in which like Elend comparing himself to Kelsier sort of more like interpersonally with the crew, because he's having to work with the crew
who knew him.
Yeah, who actually like knew Kelsier, and Kelsier was the leader of the crew, and so now Elend is kind of the leader of the crew, as well as being the leader of the government, because the crew is now a part of the government, and so it's like, ugh, new management, and how do we feel? I'm a noble, and y'all don't really like that.
Yep.
So it's Sure. Just had to do a little...
Making noises at us.
Yeah, just had to do a little USB sounds at us for a second. Don't worry about it. Oh, the Wi-Fi is gone.
Oh.
Yeah. I
wonder if we lost power or something.
That wouldn't... I guess maybe if that was, like, downstairs, but, like, because...
right, because we couldn't have lost power because we're using this...
Right, yeah, it's like, unless, like, the router lost power specifically.
Yeah. I was thinking the whole house, but I'm looking at the TV screen on.
Right.
I'm so stupid. I'm like, we lost power, why don't they check?
Because it was a USB sound, I imagine that it's something to do with the little USB Wi-Fi thing.
Yeah.
Is the problem. Oh, but the Wi-Fi's back now.
Okay,
so
well.
I see it there. Whatever. None of this is important for the podcast. Pardon my raspy voice.
Yeah. All of the sick.
Such is life. It's funny because it's like I'm sick and yet my nose is a lot better than it normally is. Probably because I'm on cold medicine. Of some sort, I say of some sort. Anyway, I took NyQuil like last night, but I didn't take it today, this morning. And it's like, not actually NyQuil, it's like fucking Kroger brand, whatever. Again, not important. The important thing is that it's then Vin's perspective.
Yes. Yep.
After all the Ellen stuff.
Yes.
We have Vin out doing her Mistborn shit.
Yep, so she's being paranoid or prepared. As your note said. She's trying to protect Ellen and such is her main thing.
Yep, trying to protect from assassins and stuff. Yep. And I have this note that which is just like, how though, and I don't remember what that was about. I have like, how though, and then Osir, the Khandra, and someone's watching Vin. But I'm like, what was like, how though about?
Let me see.
I think I found it. She approached a quiet street corner and stopped, peeking out. She'd never really understood how she burned metals. She could remember doing it for as long as she'd been alive, using Allomancy instinctively, even before she had been formally trained, even before she was formally trained by Kelsier. So I guess I think it was because it was like, she never really understood how she did it. I'm like, yeah, that's a good point. Like, how do you do it? It's sort of like that was never like a question, I guess, but now it's like, wait, how? Like, no, like walk me through it actually, like scientifically, which I know that like Brandon will do eventually. It's like, how do you burn a metal inside of you and then get this power? Like, what is it that allows Allomancers to do that? What's special about them that allows them to do that? How can you do that? It's just like, hey, Allomancers, how do you burn your metals? I don't know. I just swallow them and then I just do.
Yep.
And it's like, what?
Yeah, they describe feeling like a reserve there of some sort.
Yeah,
and
some
feeling
sort of
kind of like warmth or whatever when they burn it.
Yep. Yeah. Some sort of reserve of power that they can like draw on different ones for different metals and stuff. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just like, I'm curious, and like also the same for like ferrochemists.
Yeah.
Which we're gonna get more about that.
Yeah.
Not immediately, but we're gonna get more about that.
Yeah.
Which is exciting.
All right, let's get more of your notes on Vin's perspective here.
Yes, I have Osir the Khandra. Osir.
Yes. Orsir.
Orsir. How's that spelled?
Orsir.
Oh. Oreseur. Oh, that's not how I had that spelled at all. Or Seur?
Yes.
Or sir. I had Orsir. Like,
oh, yeah.
Or sir.
Yeah.
Or sir. Or sir.
Yeah.
Interesting. And someone's watching Vin.
Yep. Yeah.
Vin talks about the Watcher.
The Watcher, and he's showed up a few times, and she's like sparred with him a couple times, and she's like curious and kind of excited to have someone to spar with because she hasn't had that since Kelsier.
Yeah, cause it's some sort of like shadowy Mistborn person.
Seems like.
Yeah, whatever the fuck's up with that. And then chapter 2.
Yeah.
And my first thing for chapter 2 is these assassins aren't the Watcher. In quotes.
Yep. Yeah.
It's like, oh, some going, it's assassins. It's not the Watcher. It's
Yep.
And then I just have the note, fighting.
Yeah.
The Watcher helps Vin and just stands there, all silhouetted.
Yeah.
Just being all cool and dramatic after helping her.
Yeah, the main thing in this fight is kind of like we're re-seeing the kind of magic system, like how it's used in fighting.
Yep, just like getting us like a taste of the action and how the magic do, giving us a reason to use magic for a little bit.
Yep.
I have loud sticks to stun 10 users, which I thought was neat, because like that wasn't something that was in the last book, but like using loud noises to specifically stun people who have enhanced senses is great. Vin doesn't think about how she would die, only how Ellen would.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, she only ever thinks about Ellen's safety, not her own.
Right.
When it comes to like these assassins and stuff. And then Vin uses her last bit of ATM during this fight.
Yep. Yeah, there was no ATM cache in Luthadel, or at least they haven't found it.
Nope.
If it's there. And
I have some theories about that I've talked about with you.
Yeah.
Where it's like, where's all this ATM? What's up with all this ATM? Because it's like, oh, there's supposed to be this cache of ATM.
Yep.
And I'm wondering if it never really existed. Like, it's possible that it's just hidden somewhere and that we will find it.
Yeah.
But I have this feeling that it never existed and that the Lord Ruler was just using all of his ATM for something.
Got you.
And that's something that's a thought that I've had since book 1.
Yeah.
Is, back when my original joke of the Lord Ruler knower of anime, he's burning all the ATM to see the future.
Yeah.
But now we know that he was using the ATM for his, like, immortality stuff. Because he used it to, like, store his youth in. His bracers that he stored youth in had ATM.
Yeah.
And so, like, those were just, like, storing youth so they weren't being, like, burned.
Right.
But it's, like, he used ATM for the bracers. He could have been using ATM for, like, other things. Right. He could have been using it as part of, like, he may have had to... Because it's like he was storing youth in it, and then he was burning the metal that he had youth in to get more youth to then store into the bracers so that he could... And so that would imply that he is burning some amount of ATM?
Yeah.
I guess, if he's like storing youth in the ATM and then burning it to gain youth to then put in the ATM bracers. And also there's like only tiny little beads and sort of have like full fucking bracers of them.
Right.
You'd need like a lot. And he's been doing this for like a long time. The ATM mines have been going for like centuries, presumably. Yeah. But still, like, if he's had to be living for centuries and he's having to burn it.
Yeah.
But he's not burning it like every day. And it's like, how much is he burning it? So it's like, I don't think that would necessarily use up all of it. But it's like, I do wonder if it's just like...
There's just not a cache.
Yeah, because they could also be perhaps used somehow with like the creation of Steel Inquisitors.
Yeah.
That's just a fully wild speculative guess.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really know how they're...
We don't know how they're made yet.
Or anything, so...
You know, it's like there's all kinds of, like, weird secrets that he and the Steel Ministry had. So the idea that,
they had, like, full kind of, like, control over what knowledge people had on that type of thing for quite a while. They
were holding secret Allomancy knowledge, and they're hoarding all this ATM. So the idea, it's like, no, we're not just hoarding the ATM for like economic purposes. We're hoarding it because we're using it for something. Feels reasonable, because it's also like, oh, you know, you could just be like, no, the Lord Ruler does just give out all of his ATM. He doesn't hold a stockpile, but like that wouldn't make sense because the Ventures are the ones who are mining it for him. Yeah. So they would know how much is being mined. Yeah. And so like how much they're giving to him versus how much is like going out to the nobility. Right. I mean, I'm sure they wouldn't know exactly how much every noble's like getting. Yeah. But they would have more of a inside track on, like, that kind of knowledge than any of the other houses. So it's not like... So I don't think the Lord Ruler can really just kind of, like, get away with, like, just being, like, saying that he has a lot because no one knows where he gets it from. Right. Someone knows where he gets it from.
Right.
And so I think that he did have a lot of it. It's just whether or not he stored it or he was using it for something. Yeah. And I feel like maybe he was using it for something and that's why they can't find it.
Gotcha.
But it could still just be, like, stored somewhere super hidden or whatever. Yeah. But I feel like there's gonna be some sort of twist that it was used for something.
Got you.
That's
I like your ATM theories. Mm-hmm. More ATM theories.
Yeah, because there were ATM theories back in the beginning. Yep. What's ATM? What does it do? And now it's like, what's it being used for? Where'd all this ATM go?
Yeah, where, what?
Because also ATM economics, as Ham likes to talk about, it's like you got to burn it, which then makes it rarer.
Yep.
And now that the fucking pits of Hasin have been destroyed,
no more.
No one can get ATM from anywhere.
Nope.
And so it's all just like getting used up. All the bits that were out in circulation, that's it. Yep. And so it's like, unless we can find this cash, this is all the ATM that anyone has.
Yeah.
And so if you can get it, that's a huge advantage. So, like, it could be that this is going to be, like, a big, important, like, MacGuffin that we get. Yeah. Or a big, unfortunate, oh, no, someone else has it.
Right.
But, like...
Yeah, Vin's certainly worried after she uses it up. She's like, if anyone else has it, I'm kind of screwed.
Yep. And so it's like, it's I don't have words, but yeah.
Yep.
Interested to see where it goes.
Yeah.
Chapter 3.
Let me just make sure real quick.
Mm-hmm.
The Watcher did interfere in the fight at one point.
Yeah, I had that. The Watcher helps Vin.
Got you. Did you already say that?
Yeah, it was one of my...
Oh, I just missed it then.
Yeah, it was one of my much earlier ones.
Yeah, my bad.
The Watcher helps Vin and just stands there all silhouetted.
Yeah. Oh, all right.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I have, this chapter's mostly just kind of like the fighting.
Orser gets pretty, or at least his body gets pretty injured.
Right. Yes. Right. The Orser stuff, because it's like, throw me... Okay, because he, like, throws her...
the ATM, I think.
The ATM. Yeah. And he's like, listen, this isn't going to kill me, but I do need to get a new body now.
Yeah.
Because this one's all fucked up.
Yeah, and she didn't, like, check if he felt pain. She didn't really, like, even think about it. She's just, like, kind of used him as a shield, and, yeah.
Yeah, no, Vin is not nice to Orser.
No. Vin, it's kind of sad, but yeah.
It is. It's really, like, kind of...
We have dog drinking water in the background. It's not even his water. He always steals Tilly's water.
He does. And then he licks the food bowl.
I put it up because it makes too much noise.
Yeah.
I've been putting it up.
Dexter.
That's enough.
That's enough, Dexter. You have your own water elsewhere.
It's like, I must take all of the water from everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
No water for the other dogs.
But yeah, it's really kind of upsetting.
Yeah.
Just, like, hearing Vin, the way she, like, talks about Orser and, like, Chandra and things like that. Where it's really the sort of thing, it's like, the Ska were treated this, like, certain way for, like, a long time. And now it's like, we've overthrown the Lord Ruler and we're, like, shaking things up. But then it's like, when it comes to Chandra and, like, Orser, she's like... It's like, he's just so obviously, like, a person.
Yeah, and I think she can't see him as a person because of, like, well, I mean, she says, like, he ate Kelsier, like, over and over and over again. And I think that overrides, like, oh, he's a person in her head. It's like, oh, creature,
Yeah.
Which is not right.
Right, and it's also, like, she first sees, like, a Mistwraith, and it's, like, this big monster full of all these, like, bones and stuff. And then we find out about Chandra, which are, like, Mistwraiths that have grown up, in quotes.
Yeah.
Whatever, which, like, is still just, like, wild to me. And so it's, like, she still has this, like, notion of, like, this creature that's this, like, shambling mound of bones. and also it's like it ate Kelsier, and everyone's like, yeah, he asked him to do that. This is what Kelsier wanted.
And I think she's also taking out her anger at Kelsier for that plan on Orsur, because Kelsier's not there for her to be angry at, so she can take it out on the person who went through with the plan.
Yeah, it's true, and it sucks. It's unfortunate. It's like I really want.
And it comes out in like this like racist way, which is
it does. It really does, and it's really just like because everyone else is like, come on, Vin. She's just like refuses.
Yeah, and I like that Ellen kind of like gently confronts her and is like, "Are you sure about that?"
Right, because it's like. You know, because there's obviously like a sort of, I feel like a similarity, a parallel where it's like the ministry teaches the nobility of the ska.
Yeah.
You know, they don't have the disposition for it. They're not, like, they don't realize that they're treated poorly because they're too stupid, essentially, which, you know, very much mirrors real world justifications for slavery and stuff. And then it's like, they sort of come out of that, they're no longer slaves, but now it's like, she's like, well, the Khandra... That's definitely not a person.
Yeah.
And it is not a person in the same way that like ska and nobility are just humans.
Right.
They're just different humans, you know? There's it's like a socially constructed
like class difference,
while like a Khandra is actually like a different species.
Yep.
But it's just so obvious that it's like, you know, it's a person.
Yeah.
Like, Orsir has, like, obviously has, like, feelings and, like, a mind that's, like, that we would consider, like, you know, a person. Like, it's just, like, it just feels so obvious reading it. Like, Orsir just comes across so much as, like, yeah, no, I'm a fully cognizant person. When he was being Renew all that time, he was just being a person. And it's like, oh, you know... pretending to be other people is like, you know, in my nature or whatever, has this whole like thing about that, but it's like still like they accept payment in ATM.
Yep.
And like
I think they only take ATM.
They only take ATM, so it's like, what do you like you want things. You want ATM for something.
Yep.
Like I want to know more. I want to know more about this whole contract
I know.
Loyalty thing.
That was like one of the biggest things in this. I'm like, I want to know more about the Khandra. I want to know more about the Khandra.
Yeah, I'm just like, I want to know so much more about the Khandra, and like Ollie's chasing her tail.
Oh.
We have a new puppy, by the way.
We do have a puppy.
I mean, she's how old is she? Is she a year?
Under a year, for sure.
She's under a year. Yeah, she's not like, you know, newborn puppy, but she is a little fluff ball.
She's so little.
And she's chasing her tail in a little circle there. It was so cute.
And then she was just going real slow at the end, like
just but yeah, it's like we as the audience want to know more about Khandra. But Vin doesn't.
No.
So it's like, we're not going to be getting that until later, because it's like, Vin's not concerned with that sort of thing. We're not going to be learning more about that.
She's actively disinterested.
Yes. And it's like, well, I'm actively interested, Vin, so come on.
But yeah, alright.
But yes,
so now we got that.
Now chapter 3.
Now chapter 3.
So for chapter 3, my first note is parliamentary government.
Yep.
Elland has invented England.
Yeah.
He is a king with a parliamentary government made up of nobility. Which like are there like ska representatives in Parliament? Yeah, so it's, you know, the House of Lords, the House of Commons.
Yep.
And one might say that maybe the House of Lords shouldn't exist, but you know,
I think they're all on one council together.
Right. It's not like quite. You know, I'm just making a.
No, I know.
You know, 24 men assembly. It's an assembly of 24.
Yeah, and then I think there's like some from the like merchants, the ska, the nobles, and then I think like
probably like the ministry.
I think the ministry, and then maybe the like survivors religion as well. Like maybe but maybe not.
Yeah, I don't remember, because like I don't remember them really like going into it that much in this chapter. They might have, and I just don't quite remember. But Elend is writing a proposal to them.
Yep.
And we're going to be hearing a lot about that in these chapters. Because he's like, hey, don't surrender to my dad before I've had a chance to talk to him.
Yeah. It's like, do not, whatever you do.
Wants to meet with his father before the Parliament does anything.
Yeah.
And then I have Vince not giving herself enough credit for killing the Lord Ruler.
Yeah.
Because she has this whole thing, it's like, it wasn't, mystical powers or whatever that allowed me to, or strength that allowed me to beat the Lord Ruler. It was just luck. And it's like, well, it was very specifically used, like, some mystical powers when you, like, drew on the mist, and it was, like, a whole thing. And
she'd merely figured out the trick that he had been using to make himself immortal, and she'd fortunately almost accidentally exploited his weakness.
Yeah.
She wasn't brave or clever, just lucky.
You were clever, because you fucking figured it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you hadn't, because it's
and she went after it, like, 3 times. She went after the Lord Ruler, like, 3 times in one night. What do you mean you're not brave? Girl.
Fucking... Yeah, and then later she is like, okay, I guess, like, I did have, like, the thing with, like, the mist when I drew on the mist, but I haven't been able to recreate it, so it doesn't count.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious. Like, recapping some stuff, we're doing, like, some recapping, talking about, stuff from the first book. Vin can't replicate her drawing on the mist, which I'm, like, again, so curious about.
Yeah.
Especially because it's something later in this chapter, when we see the Allomancy Mistman.
Mm-hmm. Allomancy Mistman.
Allomancy Mistman.
I love it.
Who are you, Allomancy Mistman? I said that, and then you were like...
I was dying.
And you were like, you have to write that down.
Allomancy Mistman.
Who are you, Allomancy Mistman? Yeah, so, but that's getting a little bit ahead, because, Kel didn't leave an exactly stable government. Yeah. Only Elend and Marsh know she can pierce copper, which I think is interesting. She, and then I have can't make out the bronze pattern, because she starts, like, sensing this, like,
something.
allomantic pulse, and then she looks over and there's this weird mist figure.
She, like, kind of tracks it to the roof, and she's, like, confused.
Mm-hmm.
And then tries to figure out the direction, and sees, they were coming from somewhere very close, on the rooftop, right in front of her. Then she saw it. Not something in the mists, but something of the mists. The figure stood a few feet away, easy to miss, for its shape was only faintly outlined by the mist. Vin gasped, stepping backward.
Yep. It's made of the mist, and it's giving off some sort of allomantic pulses, it seems, from her, like, bronze, but not one that she can, like, make out, which is wild.
And then it stood for a moment, then it simply puffed away, dissipating into the mist's random curls.
Yeah, and, like, we know that there was, like, a mist creature that, like, attacked Alendi and his group on their, like, expedition to the Well of Ascension. Yep. And this book's called Well of Ascension.
And there's
a mist creature.
Yep.
And it's an Allomancy Mistman.
It's an Allomancy Mistman.
So I'm like, what the fuck? And I have fuck Straff. I don't remember about what specifically, but I mean, it's an evergreen statement.
Absolutely. He is the worst, so.
Vin and Elend talk.
Oh, I think it was the letter. The son I trust you've enjoyed seeing after the venture interests in, the letter we talked about.
That was the letter. Yep.
King Straff Venture.
King
is what he
Straff
signs it
Venture.
Off with.
Yeah.
What an asshole.
Yep. Vin talks about Mist Person, and Elend does the classic thing of being like, "Oh, you're so tired. You should get some rest.
Get some more sleep."
Yeah. People who
we
live...
only saw it. We were only in Vin's perspective. Maybe she imagined it.
And don't you say that to me. These people in these magical worlds
But their magic is normal.
I know
their magic is normal.
But they read a book where there were mist people who attacked Alendi. So the idea that, like, a mist creature would show up like, it's not so far-fetched. Like, there's...
Yeah, but everything with the Lord Ruler is done now. So, there's nothing to worry about.
There's nothing to worry about. The Ash Mounts are only getting more active since he died. And now and I saw a mist creature after he died. Clearly it's
not like
all
he
normal.
said anything ominous right before he died or anything.
No, of course not. Fucking, like...
And he absolutely could have said something.
Mm-hmm.
He was just being a dick.
He was being a dick.
Like, at that point?
Yeah. I mean, being a dick was, like, his constant MO, so... Yeah. Vin is still learning to be vulnerable. She has, like, a hug with him, and she, like... is like...
Yeah, at first there was a slight stiffness to her posture. It was as if a piece of her still expected to be hurt.
Mm-hmm.
A primal sliver that couldn't understand that it was possible to be touched out of love rather than anger.
Yeah, Vin continues to be sad, but she's...
But then she relaxed, is the next line, so...
Mm-hmm. She's learning. She's learning to be vulnerable and to love and be loved by people. But Vin did refuse Ellen's marriage proposal.
Yep.
We get a sort of passing line about that.
Yep, yeah, we don't go into it, but just that he proposed and she didn't want to.
And that she rejected. Yeah. Well, rejected sounds kind of harsh, but
Yeah.
Did not accept.
Yeah, they're together, but...
but not, yeah. Lord Ruler used ATM for his age-storing bracers. ATM's getting more rare. I don't think the ATM stash exists. Those are sort of like, when I was sort of coming up with those theories, was during this part. Mardra, I have as Ham's wife, presumably.
Yeah.
The assassins were probably not from Straff, because they seem to have been from, like, other houses and stuff. There was just, like, some talk about, like, Straff sending assassins, and it's like, no, actually it doesn't really seem
they were,
like
they were from too far away, or whatever.
Right, they were from, like, some other place, and it's like, oh, that's, like, so far away.
Yeah, like the other direction.
Yeah, like the other direction from where, like, Straff is, so it's like, it's probably not related to him. Oh, yeah, and then Ham says some shit, where he says some shit to like Ellen about his dad, right? Like they're talking about his dad, and I forget what it is, but like
Tilly's making weird noises.
Tilly's making noises about like how shitty his dad is.
Well, at least your father didn't send the assassins, Ham said, ever the optimist.
Mm-hmm.
Ellen shook his head. Our relationship wouldn't stop him, Ham, trust me. He's your father, Ham said, looking troubled. Things like that don't matter to Straff. He probably hasn't sent assassins because he doesn't think I'm worth the trouble. If we last long enough, though, he will.
Yes, and then it was...
Sorry, Tilly is on top of me.
Yes, is like exactly in the way, because if she's not the center of attention, she'll die. No, she's just melted into your lap.
Yes, hello.
Yes, I've heard of sons killing their fathers to take their place, but fathers killing their sons. I wonder what that says about old Straff's mind, that he'd be willing to... you think that Ham... Ellen interrupted. Yes. I'm usually good for a discussion, but I don't really have time for philosophy right now. And my note was, Ham, read the room just a smidge. Because it's like, Ham, like, I wonder what it says about your father's mind that he would fucking kill you like this. Like, I don't really want to talk about that right now, Ham, actually.
It's a bit much.
It's a bit much, Ham. Yeah, and then a Quan epigraph.
Although they're probably more used to the dark humor than Ellen.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's true.
And also being around like Kelsier and stuff, like they just use a lot of gallows humor type,
Yep, that's very true.
And I think it's a bit more, Ellen might be a bit more closed off on stuff like that.
Yeah, he might be a bit more, or it's probably just sort of like a different kind of a dark humor.
Right. Yeah.
Potentially, because like there's, I'm sure plenty of, shitty things with the nobility that they have like awful dark humor things about. Although, of course, the varying levels and degrees and shades of dark humor that you can have.
Right.
It's like with the Scots, like we've been through a lot of shit and you kind of have to laugh through it.
Yep.
With the nobility, some of them I'm sure have a very dark humor and like
yes.
In a very shitty sort of a way.
Yep.
Where it's like we've done a bunch of shitty things and we joke about it.
Yeah.
And Elend probably wouldn't be quite like that.
Right.
But I could see him, especially since he doesn't like the way things are so much, having a bit of a, like,
right.
Sort of a dark humor in that sense.
Yeah.
Where it's like, well, but, I mean, everything's fucking shit, right?
Right.
And there is, like, a bit of that. Although it's also fun because we get Ham saying something like, talking, I don't remember if it's this chapter, it's like, we have to deal with this, that, and the other thing. Oh, is that all? We could be dealing.
Yep, I think it is in this. Mm-hmm. It's like, you make it sound so desperate, El, and then, talking about, the assembly is a mess, a half dozen warlords with superior armies are breathing down my neck, barely a month passes without someone sending assassins to kill me, and the woman I love is slowly driving me insane. Vin snorted at this last part. Oh, is that all? See, it's not so bad after all. I mean, we could be facing an immortal god and his all-powerful priests instead.
Yep. It's like, compared to killing the Lord Ruler, everything else seems a little lesser in comparison.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, what are we gonna do?
What are you gonna do? But it's interesting, because it's like, killing the Lord Ruler was, in a weird sense, the easy part.
Yep.
Because now you have to do the tough work of building a government.
Yep, and this is kind of what Kelsier was, this is exactly what Kelsier was getting them ready for.
Yep. And, it's interesting, because it ended up being that there was, like, a trick to the whole immortality thing.
Yep.
There's not quite so much a, like, easy trick to running a stable government. It's like there are certain things that's like, yeah, you should probably do that, but then it's like
running a stable government after a 1,000-year
right
empire collapsed.
Yep. Yeah. Because it's like, no one has, like, a rightful claim.
Right.
It's like, it's truly just like, well, it was the Lord Ruler's in control because he's God and he deserves to be there because he's God.
Yeah, and he wasn't, like, setting up heirs or anything. Like, he was
he's
planning
immortal.
on, he was ruling forever. He's immortal.
Ruling forever. He's immortal. He can do this forever. He's done it for essentially forever because he's done it for, like, over 1,000 years.
Yep.
And he can do that because he's God. And what are you going to do? You're going to stop him? And so now it's like, well, now what? Now who gets to be...
Yeah, now God's dead and, okay, well...
And now it's kind of like, what does it mean to be sort of moral?
Yep.
What does it mean to be in charge?
Yep.
To have power and control? What does it mean to be a noble? The nobles have all this power. It's like... Practically, the nobles can remain nobles because there's, like...
Because of the money.
Because of the money, and because it's, like, the system existed, and so it's kind of running off of that sort of inertia.
Yep.
And it's, like, you gotta get everyone on board with this idea. It's like, no. There's no longer, like, a Lord Ruler backing them.
Right.
It's like, all their soldiers or whatever, if you can convince them that it's better to not be with them. But then it's like, oh, but the money, and it's like, well, but... it's always, like, the system. There was a system in place, and the system doesn't just... vanish with the Lord Ruler.
Right.
Just because you've voted someone else in doesn't mean that the system's not still bad.
Right. And there was still plenty of people benefiting from that system,
Yep.
And they're still around.
Yep, exactly. So it's, it's not just like, we killed the Lord Ruler and it's happily ever after. Now it's the... sort of complicated, unglamorous work of building a stable government.
Yeah, it's one thing I really love about Well of Ascension.
Mm-hmm. It's fun. It's like,
known as the more like political book.
Yeah. And that's fun because I enjoy this idea of like we're taking things seriously. We're taking the consequences seriously.
Yes.
Because the first Mistborn book could have just been it.
Right.
And like, if it was going to just be that, then, like, you probably would have, like, done things a little bit differently.
Maybe slightly tweaked the ending.
Tweak some things to make it more, like, obviously final. But it's like, it could have been, like, its own, like, satisfying thing. Where it's like, we beat the Lord Ruler and everything's good now. We're all happy. And everyone would have been, like, fine with that. But it's like, nope. It's like... Fast forward a little bit. What's the government like now?
Yep.
Actually, it's really
and
complicated.
Our idealist who has been wanting to put stuff into practice is now in power and able to do that.
Yep, and it's like, actually, it's kind of difficult to put some of this stuff into practice because I have to get these people to agree with, and a lot of these people, for them to agree, that means sort of them giving up some of their power, and they don't want to do that.
Right. And, like, I don't know where I was going. There was somewhere I was going, and then it disappeared. I'm sorry.
I'm sad. But yeah, that's chapter 3. My last note was Quan Epigraph, which we obviously read earlier.
Because it's a pretty short chapter, I think.
Yeah. And,
then we are with Sazed for chapter 4.
Yep, chapter 4, Sazed perspective, which we haven't had before.
Yep.
And it's fun. I've been excited, because it's like, I've been waiting to be in a ferochemist's head and see them use ferochemy. And so that's it's exciting. Sazed POV and the Eastern Dominance.
Yep.
Medical Coppermind, books he memorized.
Yes.
And so, because I'd been wondering about the whole storing memories thing. It's like, you recall the memory, but then you immediately, like, store it back away.
Yep.
So that it doesn't, it's like it degrades over time.
Yeah, and you can also, like, rememorize the original and put it,
Right.
Because it could degrade over time.
I wonder, what would be maybe interesting? It's like you memorize it, put in a Coppermind, and then memorize a second Coppermind of it. So that you can kind of, like, as one degrades over time, you can then, like, sort of compare one to the other, and then try and kind of, like, fix that way.
Yeah.
So that you don't have to have the whole book with you, potentially. Just kind of, like, have a little backup that's, like, so you can sort of compare as one degrades,
I think,
And, of course, that one would still degrade, but then, it's
because
just...
Keepers, like, the Order of Keepers were basically doing that, right?
Yeah.
Like, over the generations, that's how they kept that knowledge, was they had, like, a bunch of different,
and
basically
they would, like,
backups of a bunch of different Keepers who...
Right, because they would, like, pass it around to each other.
Yeah.
And pass knowledge to each other.
Yep.
It's super cool.
Yeah.
And it does remind me of, like, because there's, like, these stories of, monastic traditions, and you, like, memorize these, like, long things, like, you just memorizing holy texts and stuff.
Yep.
But they're doing it for everyone's, and they have this, like, magical capability of, like, remembering it, which is really neat.
Yeah.
Mist in the valley during the day.
During the day.
Mist during the day. Not supposed to be like that.
Yep.
It's like we got Allomancy mist men. We've got mist during the day.
Yep. Ashmount's acting up.
Ashmount's acting up. You can draw power from the mist, but only if you're freaking out.
That one time.
But only that one time if you're freaking out. Mist seemed to kill this guy. Yeah, because there's like a dead guy.
Yep.
That says it's, like, looking at for this, like, group of people.
Yeah.
This, like, village.
He's out in this village.
Out in this village in the Eastern Dominance. And he's looking at the body. That's why he had the medical Coppermind.
Yep.
Because he was trying to, like, figure out what was going on. And they're like, yeah, the mist just kind of, like, fucked him up. Yep. He was just out in the mist working. And then he just, like, it's like something invisible was attacking him, essentially.
Yep.
And,
I was going to turn back, and then I seen old Jed. He was just working away as if he hadn't seen the mist. I was going to call out to him, but before I could, he just... Well, like I told you, I seen him standing there, and then he froze. The mist swirled around him a bit, and then he began to jerk and twist like something really strong was holding him and shaking him. He fell. Didn't get up after that.
Yep. He just got fucking wrung out by the mist. I don't know. Just, like, fucking squeezed and shook. Mist just kind of killed this guy and says it's like, well.
Yep.
Says it has experienced mist during the day on his travels as well. Yeah. And so he's like, And
he's trying to deny it. He's like, no, that can't be a thing. Let's not think about it.
Let's not worry about it. 40-something years of being a steward. So we get, like, a bit of indication of Sazed's age. The Eastern Dominance is the most chaotic and unorganized dominance. Right now, it's been the sort of most in turmoil since the Empire collapsed. And Sazed is like, I want to believe that, like, we did something good by getting rid of the Lord Ruler, and that their suffering will, like, pass eventually, but it's rough seeing things this bad out here.
Yep.
And he, like, buries the guy,
Yep.
and he does, like, a religious thing.
Yep, he looks up a religion that he feels would be
appropriate. Where he, like, puts, like, a branch in the grave.
It's like a farming religion, I believe?
Yeah, like an agricultural religion. Yeah. And he puts, like, a branch in the grave, so that whenever it's buried, the branch is, like, sticking up out of the ground a little bit. And they're like, why'd you do that?
Yep.
And it's like, it's a religious thing. And he's like, I'm trying to teach these people religion, and they don't seem to really care.
Yep. And it's like, he says something to the effect of, like, the Ska only associate religion and faith with the Lord Ruler and his teachings, and religion was also kind of not for Ska in that way. Right.
It was this, like, tool of oppression, and it was, like, this, like, fearful thing.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't really, like, they're not, like, chomping at the bit for a new religion, per se. The Ska in Luthadel are sort of were like, it's like, oh, we need to give them a new god, and that was, like, successful, but, like...
But it was because they saw something specifically, like, happen in front of them, which, I mean... When you have a god king who has been ruling over, something substantial.
Yes, yeah.
Like just hearing about like a 1,000-year-old religion or whatever, I don't think it's going to do much. But seeing someone defy your
because like when this religion can give you the strength to overthrow the Lord Ruler, that's great. But when it's like the Lord Ruler's gone and you weren't like there next to him.
Right.
And you were just like out here and it's like all of a sudden he's gone and everything's gotten worse.
Yep.
Seemingly for you. It's like I'm not necessarily like excited about the prospect of like jumping to something new.
Right.
Because they're like, why did God abandon us?
Yes. Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's not quite what happened.
Yeah.
But that's definitely like how it feels because it's like suddenly things are worse for them.
Yes.
Because now the sort of the order which they were used to has been
upended.
And like, it's like,
and they don't have like education,
no,
like, or anything. And that's basically what Sazed comes to the conclusion of in this chapter is like, I need to be teaching them practical things right now. Like, this is not useful. They need to know more about like
practical things for surviving and being like self-sufficient now. Which like in a sense the Ska like have some of those skills because they're the ones who are actually like doing the like farming and working and stuff.
They just don't have the leadership or just like
or the sort of like sort of clerical skills needed to organize a lot of that kind of labor. Or it's like they can organize the labor, but then sort of like you have like the clerical stuff that goes into like the trading and the like talking with people and like sort of as a community working with other communities as opposed to just like because there's a lot of like banditry thieving going on in the Eastern Dominance, so just sort of here's how you can survive and stuff like that, and here's how writing works. But yeah, it's interesting. And those are my notes for chapter 4.
Got you.
Yeah, my last note just says that thinking about religion.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
there is just a little, the Keepers spent 1,000 years gathering and memorizing the dying religions of the world, Sazed thought. Who would have thought that now, with the Lord Ruler gone, people wouldn't care enough to want what they had lost?
Yeah, which is so sad, because, like, one of my last notes for the last book, and one of the things that I was so happy, I was like, the Keepers can now go do... Tilly, it's so rude. You could have opened that door, Tilly.
She's like, I had to bark about it.
It's like, the Keepers can finally do the thing that they've been waiting all this time to do, and then it's like, no one wants them to do it.
Yeah.
And that's so sad.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
Yep. I remember you saying that and being like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like, oh.
So excited for Seiza to be able to teach people.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting being in Seiza's head because it's like because there's like the view that we have of him, and now we get to sort of see his internal stuff. Because he's like, as far as keepers are concerned, I'm really fucking out there.
Yep.
Because
like I'm a rebel, and you know,
because it's like the keepers don't want you rebelling against the Lord Ruler.
Yeah, they were supposed to stay as quiet and out of the way as possible.
Mm-hmm. And so like being actively involved in rebellion and stuff was not supposed to be their thing.
Yeah.
But he was like, nope, I gotta do it.
Yep. And he was instrumental, like multiple times throughout this whole time.
I was literally about to say that he was instrumental, but I was yawning, and so you said it for me.
You're welcome.
Yep. Chapter 5.
Chapter 5.
Elend hasn't eliminated poverty, but he wants to.
Yeah.
So Vin's walking around the like markets and stuff.
Yep, and just seeing apprehension and just like a lot of people and all that type of stuff.
And she talks about how like once like the ska sort of workers or like craftsmen were sort of like less restricted.
Yeah, once they were like freed and stuff in general, because he put out an order of like freedom for like ska.
Right, it's like suddenly this like one street became like a big like market kind of place, because it's like the ska craftsmen can like do their trade more and like sell things and do more sort of that. And apparently he's Ellen's been trying to eliminate poverty, and he's apparently done a lot of good. Like a lot of people are more sort of like a lot of the like common people have more money.
Yeah. Especially in the city.
Especially like in the city. Which is nice. Yeah. You know, it's like Ellen's government stuff has been like working to a certain degree, at least within the city. Things like the quality of life has gone up.
Yes. Yeah.
which is nice. You know, I'm sure it could be a lot better, but but quality of life is on the rise. There's an army coming to kill us, but but the quality of life. There's a lot of
tension, definitely a lot of tension.
Yeah, and right. One piece mocks worn by priests of the Survivor.
Right.
Because these priests of the Survivor start kind of following Vin, as well as other people being like, you know, the air, Lady Air.
Lady Air.
Lady Air. And it's like, I'm not an air. And it's like, but like the Survivor. And it's like, no.
Yep.
You killed the Lord Ruler. Well, did they know that? Do they know she killed the Lord Ruler?
They do.
Okay. Yes, because in that one lady's like, the hand that struck down the Lord Ruler, if it could touch my baby.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay.
Yeah. Please, Lady Air, if the hand that struck down the Lord Ruler could touch my child. Vin tried to back away farther, but realized she was up against another crowd of people. The woman stepped closer, and Vin finally raised an uncertain hand to the baby's forehead.
Yep.
You protect us, won't you, Lady Air?
Yep. And she's just like,
Yep.
I can't handle all this pressure. And then my next note. So Vin is like, she's like, goes to this place and is like, I need a dog.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, I'll get you a cute puppy. And she's like, no, I need like a wolfhound. And it's like, no, have this cute puppy. And she's like, I'm not gonna fucking take. And then goes inside, and I have my note, Vin punches out a dog.
Yep.
She goes and finds like the meanest dog, and then just punches it in the face. And knocks it out. And then I showed Straub this clip because it reminded me, if any of you are familiar with Blazing Saddles, there's a scene where a guy punches a horse and it like falls over with like the rider on it. He like knocks out a horse.
Yeah.
It's just this like little joke scene that I've like seen a few times. That's immediately what I thought of. Vin just punching out this dog. And I'm like, Vin, what are you doing? And she's getting
the shock on your face. I was like over here like kind of half looking out, like, looking over at you like.
Because I was like, oh, that's cool. Vin's gonna get, like, a dog companion. That's kind of neat.
Yeah, but then I'm just sitting here like, don't get too attached.
And then she just punches out this dog.
She punches him.
because she's getting a new body for Orsier.
Yep.
And he does not.
He's not happy.
He's not happy. He doesn't want to be. He doesn't want to be this wolfhound. She's like, too
sure
bad.
I'm pretty sure he says it's degrading.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Yeah. He says that it's degrading.
And she says, too bad.
Yep. And he's like, I'll do it if you compel me by the contract. And she's like, okay, I do then. And he's like, well, okay. Yeah. Vin, you do make some practical sense, but you're so rude about Chandra.
Yeah.
Because she's like, listen, you're less inconspicuous. You're more inconspicuous. You're less conspicuous, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
As a dog. And like, you know, there's like these like practical things that he's like, that does make sense.
Yes. But also, that's just an excuse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's like, you're more inconspicuous if I have to keep replacing servants because
people will be suspicious.
So be this dog.
Yeah.
And it's like, fine, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And there's been a package. A package has arrived for her. Some new medals, and she's real upset with Orsier that he
didn't tell her immediately, and he's like, well, you didn't command it. And she's like,
it's like being sassy, and later she has like a remark to someone about how he's being sassy, and it's like, well, you like it when fucking
Sazed,
yeah, Sazed's fucking sassy with you, but because he's a Chandra, you've got a problem with it because he fucking ate Kelsier, even though everyone's like, get over it.
Yep.
But she got a delivery, a new metal. It's an alloy of aluminum.
Yes.
Called Duralumin.
Yes.
Made with 4% copper, which means that copper continues to be overrepresented. Well, actually, it's more like copper, because like copper and tin were like equally represented, but we're still the most.
Yeah.
But now copper has eked ahead, because tin is its own metal, but tin is also in pewter, and tin is also in bronze. And then copper's its own metal, and then copper's also in bronze, and copper's also in brass. And now copper's also in duralumin. You just fucking put copper in everything. And it's like,
just a little bit of copper.
Just a little bit of copper in everything, and it's fine. Don't worry about it. But aluminum, we find out, was the metal that they made her take in the last book to get rid of all of her metals.
Yep.
You burn it, and it burns all.
The secret new metal that no one had known anything about.
Yep, and it burns, or it like gets rid of all of your metal reserves.
Yep.
Which is wild. And it's from this guy Tarion.
Yeah.
Tarion.
Yeah.
He's this like Allomancy metallurgist who she's been working with, and he's been giving her these like alloys of aluminum to try.
Yeah, she's like 40 something or something like that to try right now.
Right, or it's like he had come up with like 40, and then after only like a few, they found this one that worked.
Yes, yeah.
Because she had been burning the other ones and then getting sick.
Yeah.
And they're like, don't do that. And it's like, I gotta.
Yep.
I gotta try them. And then, and she doesn't burn it yet. Does she burn it this chapter?
Not yet.
She just gets it, and she's got like some powder and a bar of it.
Yep.
And we will find out what it does later.
Mm-hmm.
And copper remains overrepresented is my last note for chapter 5.
Got you. Dox does show up. And
is this when we get the whole Dox and Ellen stuff?
Yep.
Yeah, because Ellen's like, Doxson doesn't like me.
Yep.
It's like, we work together and it's fine, but I can tell he doesn't really like me.
Yep.
Because he doesn't like nobles. And it's like, yeah. And he's like, I can't really blame him for not liking nobles, honestly, but it's still just like uncomfortable having to like work with them.
Yeah, it's just like a little awkward when they're both around. And...
Yep, and it's like, well, that'll happen when you're part of the class that oppressed his class.
Right.
But you know,
and he doesn't really hold it against him. He just doesn't.
Yeah.
Not a super huge fan of being around him, you know,
right.
Which like fair.
Yeah, no, it's like I
think Dox feels the same way.
Yep. Yeah, and then we have some of that, like, you know, talking about, like, Kelsier and stuff, I think.
Yeah, talking, a bit about, like, kind of comparing himself to Kelsier and all of that, and them, kind of grieving a bit in that way.
Yep.
And talking about Ellen confronting Vin about Orsur and like how she treats Orsur.
Yes.
He's kind of like, I think you're a bit like rough on him, and you know, it's yeah.
Yeah, and they have the bit where it's like he's insolent or whatever, and it's like Condra don't normally do that. It's like, well, he does, and say, well, also you suck. He doesn't say that, but it's like, Vin, the reason why he's being like that to you is because you're being shitty to him. Yep. You're being shitty to him, so he's not like happily serving you, because of course not. He's a person, and you're treating him poorly.
Yeah, and then she's like, oh, so it's just like you and Dachshund, and he's like, fair. Is basically what happens.
Yep. 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 And what else?
Oh, yeah, and then also, Vin is like, you're a wonderful king, or whatever, and they should all just listen to you. And
you know. Yeah, because she's like, you're a good man, so it's fine. And Ellen's like, no, we should, it shouldn't just be that, like, I have complete control and can do whatever I want. We need a better system than that. Yeah.
Yeah, and she also kind of compares Ellen and Kelsier and like, why did you choose, he's like, why did you choose me, or whatever, and she's like, I loved Kelsier, but, like, he was a bit crazy.
And, a
bit much.
And does Ellen...
And he's too old.
Yeah. And Ellen talks about how, like, Kelsier saved him one time?
Yes. Yeah, and tells her about when he showed up, and she's like, there were Inquisitors there! What were you doing coming to try and save me?
Yep, and it's like, he saved me. Yeah. It's like... It must have been an accident. He would never save a noble.
It's like, no, he, like, looked at me. Like, it was on purpose.
Yep, it's like, well, he did know that I loved you. It's like, yep.
My brain just died. Sorry.
Brain died real quick?
Yeah, my brain died real quick. I was trying to make a joke, and then none of them worked in my head, and so then brain just
shut off.
But, yeah, completely.
I feel you. That'll happen sometimes. Right. And anything else?
Yeah, I was just kind of talking about Kelsier.
Yeah, because after this chapter, my notes become a lot more nothing.
Why don't we maybe stop at the end of this chapter, and we'll
pick it up next time?
Yeah, because I have a little bit of a headache, and I'm kind of sick and stuff, and
then
you can maybe re-listen to
re-listen, have more notes and stuff. That sounds good.
And then we could maybe go till like chapter 12 or something, read through chapter 12.
Yeah, because we were talking about going to like chapter 12 or 13 or something.
Yeah, let's go through 12.
Yeah, sounds good. All right.
Yeah. Let me just make sure and check there isn't anything else at the end of this chapter.
Right.
Yeah, last time I tried to burn those, it was made you sick for 2 days. Can't kill me, but it could make me sick. And then
she's like, it's better I get sick now and then recover than like, you know.
Yeah, and then she tries it and she's like, nothing happened.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, she does try it this chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah, she burns it and it's like, I don't feel anything. It's like, I burned it safely, so it's correct, but I just didn't get anything out of it.
Yeah, she's like, I'm not sure like whether the alloy is doing anything, and no headache, so.
Yep.
And she felt the familiar warmth from within that there was a metal burning, but.
Yep, because she would get a real bad headache whenever it would happen.
Yep.
Whenever she would try and burn a bad alloy, which is interesting. It's like, does it have something to do with your head then? Allomancy, you know?
Yeah.
Is it something brain related? That's just wild speculation. But yeah.
Yep, and she just wants Ellen to train with the dueling cane.
Yeah, because
she mentions that.
Because he's like, you suck. Or she's like, you suck.
Yeah.
You need to get better with a dueling cane. And he's like, fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the first 6 chapters.
Yeah. Well, I think first 5 chapters.
Oh, right. But, first 5 chapters. Yeah. Because I have like 2 notes for chapter 6 and then none for chapter 7 or 8. Yeah. So, alrighty.
Yeah. So that's the start of Well of Ascension.
Yep. Bit of a shorter one this time because we weren't feeling so well, but next time we'll have more to talk about, which will be nice.
Yep. Yeah, and we'll be getting into it more and out of some of the recap and stuff like that. So.
Yep. We're in the setup right now, which is fun.
And we'll definitely have some interesting stuff next time.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Especially because there's like already stuff that we were like planning on talking about today that we didn't get to. So it's like I already know some of that, but then there'll be even more.
Yeah.
All right. So this has been Let's Talk About Book.
Yeah.
And now you can go forth and think about book on your own time. Mm-hmm. Feel free to, do YouTube things.
Yeah, comment. We like seeing comments.
Yeah.
It's always exciting.
Mm-hmm. Comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on things, your Mistborn thoughts. It's always fun. We look at like, I don't look at the Mistborn Tumblr stuff too much because I'm worried about spoilers. But generally, we enjoy seeing like people's takes on things.
Yep.
Hearing what other people have to say about stuff that we like. Yeah. So we would be happy to see comments. Yeah. All right. But yeah, good whatever time it is.
Yeah, have a lovely time of the day.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.